Tiger fans, what's going on, guys? So I just wanted to thank everyone who watched my last video about the Al Avila rant about future of the rebuild and how I was really angry about the trade deadline, all that good stuff. I just want to take a second out to welcome the new people that subscribed. I actually got a few new subscribers out of that. A lot of people commented, and I just want to let you guys know that not every video is going to be me yelling about the team, me screaming about how Al Avila needs to be fired. That's just not how I am. But I do want to welcome you guys to the channel. A little bit of backstory if you guys are new people watching. Basically, I've been doing this since 2010. Had a little bit of a hiatus there in like 17, 18, but really the last 2 years I've been back at it. I used to make weekly series previews and synopsises about what the series had happened. I don't really do that anymore. I just do once a week videos, basically talking about the week that happened, notable things that happened, and what's going on in the state of the Tigers. So really, for the rest of the season, I don't really care about talking about what happened for this past week. Like this past week, the Tigers won 2 games. They lost. They got beat by the Twins. Series was garbage, and then they went home and played the Rays for 4 games. They should have split the series with the Rays, but today was like a perfect synopsis of what the Tigers' week was. Matt Manning had one of his best starts of his career, matched a career high in innings, set a new career high for innings pitched, matched career high in strikeouts with 8. Absolutely 7 stellar innings of 4-hit ball, and 2 outs in the ninth. Gregory Soto, who has been good. You know, he's one of those guys I will still defend, even with this blow up of him having all these walks and basically leading to a game that was 0-0 in the ninth to the Tigers losing this game 7-0 because Gregory Soto had a couple of bases loaded walks, and Jason Foley comes out and gives up a few more runs and basically allowed every base runner that Soto got to reach plus a couple. So. And they lost 7-0 on a 0-0 game where Matt Manning goes 7 innings, a 4-hit ball. That's basically the Tigers. You know, they had one game this week where they score a bunch of runs, which was that game against Tampa Bay yesterday in the Lou Whitaker number retiring day. And I actually want to touch on that a little bit. And every other game was just a struggle. So this week, I guess a quick thing we'll talk about. Riley Greene this week. He was coming into this week struggling. And I noticed this week that Riley Greene, and I had made mention in my videos prior, that Riley Greene was having a lot of problems with spin, especially down and in and up and in. Teams were throwing him a lot more curveballs. Teams have figured out that Riley Greene likes the ball middle third away, and he's very good at shooting the ball the other way, and he's very good at shooting the ball back up the middle. Riley Greene isn't really a dead pull guy. He's mainly a dead center field hitter to left center field and shoot the line. You know, you don't see him pull many balls, and if you do, it's right center field, which is great because he's got so much plate coverage, and he's got such a good eye, and he's got such a long bat path through the zone. But he needed to learn to spin a little bit because, you know, after going 11 strikeouts to 11 walks in his first, 30-something plate appearances, he's been striking out quite a bit. He was in like a 2 for 20 slump, but even though the results haven't been there, and he's had still a few more offers, but you've been seeing the at-bats at bat basis that Riley Greene is making the adjustment to start spitting on spin and not chase as much. I mean, he had a pitch that he hit into the right field bullpens that was way outside and off of Corey Kluber, and he flicked it into the right field bullpens, and it was just a line shot missile. And that was just a great at-bat. And that just goes to show you the maturity of Riley Greene, him versus other guys that we've called up, like Cody Clemens. You know, he really still hasn't made that adjustment, and although his at-bats have been sparse, you know, he doesn't get consistent playing time, but, you know, teams have been able to get him out pretty consistently. And Spencer Torkelson, you know, his whole reason why he's down in the minor leagues right now is because he's yet been able to make the adjustment against teams. Teams figured out real quick. Torkelson had his first 2 weeks in the big leagues, he had 2 home runs in 3 days after he hit his first one against Boston. And then after he hit that 1 home run in the 8th inning against Kansas City and the Tigers won, I think it was a 3-2 game, teams real quick figured out, you know, this kid can hit fastballs. And all of a sudden, it was real quick apparent that he would take a lot of pitches on the outer third, and they would throw him breaking balls away. And they would throw more breaking balls away, and he would strike out looking. And then he started getting in his head, and he started missing pitches right down the middle, and Spencer Torkelson became Spencer Torkelson, where he's hitting sub 200, and he was in his mind. and he was never able to make the adjustment. But Riley Greene has definitely made that adjustment, and he has looked, even though the numbers aren't as good as some people might want to think, but I think that if you watch a bat to a bat and you're looking at certain things, watching his maturity, that kid can hit. And he's going to be one of those guys that can fall out of bed and just hit. He's a very pure hitter. Speaking of Spencer Torkelson is actually, he drew his first 2 walks of being in Toledo today. He has had 3 home runs in the last week. So his extra base power is coming back. He has been striking out quite a bit. So it was good to see today him get a couple of walks, and it just goes to show you that maybe his eyes starting to come back. The power stroke's definitely there. He's had a couple of doubles. He brought his average up from like 160 to now he's like in the 240s. So, hopefully this is a sign of things to come, and maybe in the next week or two, if Torkelson he brings his average up a little bit more and shows a little more plate discipline and draws a couple more walks. He didn't draw his first 2 walks until today in the minor leagues. So he'll be up soon. Kerry Carpenter continues to murder the ball down there. I have no idea why Akil Baddoo has an everyday starting job, or at least is on a 40-man roster. I have no idea when Kerry Carpenter has now smacked his 30th home run in the minor league season between AA and AAA. Today he hit a grand slam. He was 1 for 2 with 5 RBIs. The kid is absolutely. Everyone keeps saying it's because of his defense. Okay, but at this point in the season, when your team is so bad and you have no offense and you struggle to score 5 runs on a daily basis, you got a guy that's down there that's had 30 home runs, and in the minor in AAA so far, he's cut his strikeout rate down by almost half. He's got 15 walks to 15 strikeouts. He's hitting .343. He's got an 1,100 OPS since in 35 games coming up. He's been absolutely murdering the ball. There's absolutely zero reason why Kerry Carpenter is down in there, and you have basically no kind of offensive depth. And people are like, oh, well, it's stupid to start his clock, and oh, well, there's other guys that still need more bats over him up here to see where they're at. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. When Akil Baddoo he's gotten a bunch of at-bats this week. He had a bunch of at-bats in Minnesota. They actually started him against the left-handers. He had a few big hits. He actually kind of woke up a little bit in Minnesota. But I'm sorry, he's starting to wear his chances out on being an everyday guy, or at least someone that plays 4 days a week. And then they call up Daz Cameron. I'm ready for that experiment to be over, because Daz Cameron can't draw walks. He struggled in AAA, has never really shown any power. His defense is okay. His speed is something that's decent, but he never gets on base to utilize it. So I'm about ready for this experiment to be over, so Daz Cameron can go anytime they want. So they traded away Robbie Grossman. Victor Reyes is only a couple of day a week player. He's more of a pinch hit guy. You play twice a week, and you put him in as a pinch runner for Miggy. So I don't understand why Kerry Carpenter's not up here. They're literally playing for nothing. The kid is absolutely murdering. He's getting better with every single level. I'm not going to say it, and I'm going to say the same thing I said about Riley Greene. He's not your savior for your season. He's not going to make your team, a wild card team, a playoff team, a 500 team, a 10 games below 500 team. He's just a guy that needs a look because he's earned it, and he's hitting, and they need hitters, and they need someone that can put the ball out of the park. Literally, they have not only a few guys had double-digit home runs, and people on the Tigers, Candelario with 10 and Javier Baez with 10. They have zero power. They finally have hit 62 home runs as a team. Absolutely no power, no pop. They need hitters up here, and Kerry Carpenter's a guy that deserves a look. He's absolutely earned a look. So let's touch on Lou Whitaker here real quick. That Lou Whitaker ceremony was absolutely awesome. I think it's really long overdue that the Tigers retired his number. For the longest time, the Tigers would not retire people's numbers unless they were in the Hall of Fame. They did make a few exceptions because they did retire Willie Horton's 23. And Kirk Gibson actually wore 23 after Willie Horton wore 23. Kind of like how Kinsler and Iglesias wore 3 and 1 before they retired those numbers because Tram wasn't in the Hall of Fame. And although Sweet Lou has the numbers, he's outwarred a lot of players that are in the Hall of Fame, and he was the best second baseman of the 80s among almost all statistical categories. He's still not in the Hall of Fame. He got dropped off the ballot his first year when he was eligible, which is insane considering the guy's multiple-time Gold Glove winner, multiple-time All-Star guy. He was one of the most consistent second basemen there was at the position. He was very good defensively, and a lot of people think because of his personality is why he didn't make the Hall of Fame, because he was very quiet. He was kind of subdued. He wasn't a guy that was going to talk to the media much. Unfortunately, I did not get to watch any of Lou Whitaker's career because by the time Lou Whitaker and Trammell retired, I was only like 4 years old. So their careers were already way at the back end of it. I have watched a lot of games from anywhere from 78 when they were real young to, the early 90s, if you can go on YouTube and watch a lot of their games. So I have watched a fair few of their games and plenty of highlight stuff and a bunch of, legends tales coming down from, people talking about Trammon Whitaker. So Whitaker definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but it's really cool to see his number out there on the wall, and it's something well-deserved, and hopefully he's in the Hall of Fame. I guess to wrap this all up, because I don't want to waste all your guys' time today talking about a team that is not worth talking about, Miguel Cabrera came out this week and was saying that he does not know his status for 2023. He has a 30-something mil a year. I think he's making $31 or $32 million next year, last year of his contract. And a lot of people are asking, well, is this a good thing for Miguel Cabrera to walk away? And should he walk away? Honestly, at this point, I love Miguel Cabrera, and I'm going to be very sad to see Miguel Cabrera go because he's one of my all-time favorite players. I've been watching his career. I can remember watching him for the first time in 2000, and I want to say it was 4 when they played the All-Star game in Pittsburgh, and watching him in the home run derby at PNC Park, and he was real young. He was only in the league for a couple of years. I remember watching that clear as day like it happened yesterday. Him, David Wright, when David Wright was really young, Ryan Zimmerman, all those dudes when they were all in the National League together. And, it's been awesome. I remember the day he got traded. I remember seeing the first Miguel Cabrera jersey when I was in high school. Like, wow, how did this guy get this? He's been here for like 2 weeks. So, with that being said, he needs to go. Honestly, at this point, as much as I love Miguel Cabrera and, it's been cool to see him collect milestone after milestone, he's a clog in your lineup, essentially, at this point. There's a lot other more people, and there's a lot of other things they can do with $31 million to improve their roster. They can pay a lot of people less than $1 million to put up the kind of numbers that Miguel Cabrera is putting up. He was hitting over 300, but he's slugging under, almost under 300. His on-base percentage, I think, is definitely below league average. He's hit 4 home runs this year. He's only hit a handful of doubles. He's a very good slap hitter. Miguel Cabrera right now is the equivalent of like if you play softball and there's that old guy who still plays into his 60s but never gets out because he's really good at slapping the ball over the second base and shortstop's head and really good going middle. And if they try to play a rover on him, then he shoots it over the first baseman's head. He's got great bat control. He can still flick it in there. He had a single the other day to score a run in that 9-1 game. He can still control the bat, but he's not good against velocity. He has absolutely no legs. It's physically hurting him to play baseball at this point. He is saying his knees are just bothering him. He doesn't feel good. Hinch is trying to get him in games when Miggy thinks he can play, and Miggy's trying to be Miggy and power through. He doesn't want to seem like a complainer. He doesn't want to try to help the team. But at this point, he's a hindrance to the team versus a help. He can't hit. His power's gone. His knees are gone. He has no extra base pop left. It's painful to watch him run to first. The Tigers need that DH spot open. And honestly, the Tigers are the reason why Miguel Cabrera is 39 and he's fallen apart to this point. Because if you look at David Ortiz, when David Ortiz was 39, he smacked 40 home runs. Okay, you got to realize what the Tigers did to Miguel Cabrera to kill his prime a little bit faster than it should have. They got Prince Fielder in 2012. They put Miggy at third base for 12 and 13. Last 2 months of the year, go look at his Septembers for 12 and 13. He was hurt both years with back issues and knee issues, and his power was completely gone. Miguel Cabrera came into 2013 with 43 home runs in the month. He was going to hit 50. It might have been 12. I can't remember, but he hit 1 home run in the entire month after coming into the month with 43 into September. That man should have hit 50, but his back was hurting him. His knees were hurting him. So then what do? They put him over to first base, and they had Victor Martinez. So what'd they do? Instead of when he was 33, they're like, okay, you're going to be a mostly full-time DH and sometime first base. They re-signed Victor Martinez for 5 years and kept him out at first for 5 extra years. And what started to happen? After 12 and 13, when he had those knee injuries and back injuries at the last half of the season and in August and September, 14, 15, 16. Every single year he had something bother him, whether it was his bicep, whether it was his knees, whether it was his pec, whether it was his shoulder, and then a couple of those years he came into camp heavy and he had weight issues and whatnot like that, but he still had to play the field because they had Victor Martinez. If they wouldn't have signed Victor Martinez to that stupid ass contract extension, Miguel Cabrera might still actually be something okay, because even Albert Pujols, as much as that he can't hit, he's still hit more home runs than Miguel Cabrera has if you look at his age 38, 39, 37, 40 season. He still has some kind of power left, but he was primarily a DH the last 5 years where he was playing hardly any first base. If the Tigers wouldn't have signed Victor Martinez, that stupid-ass contract, and made him play full-time DH, and Miggy had barely any DH time, Miggy might still be something right now, but he's not. And the Tigers are a big reason why he is that, because they put him at third when they shouldn't have had him at third because they signed Prince, and they dumped Prince and signed Victor to an extension and absolutely murdered his body from the time he was 32 to the time he was 37. It was really stupid what they did to him, and they killed his prime, and they basically killed years that he should have still been really good, but they didn't because his body started to fall apart because of all the abuse of playing third base and first base when he should have been a DH, and they could have conserved him. So I'm going to be sad to see Miguel Cabrera go, but for the better of the Tigers, he needs to go. Like, honestly, I hope the Tigers buy him out, like the Angels did to Albert Pujols before they released him. They buy him out. They say, okay, we'll see you here next year in August, blah, 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 so we can retire your number. We're not even going to wait for you to go in the Hall of Fame because we know you're a Hall of Famer. They tell the guy who does the statues, hey, start getting a Miguel Cabrera statue ready to go, and they put like a Mickey Milestone thing by the statue or something like that, but not whatnot, because they need production. The Tigers can't keep running this out. Next year, they can't run out the same kind of team. They can't run out a team with a guy full of strikeouts and can't walk. They can't run out a team where your leading home run hitters have 10 home runs. They can't run out a team where you have 62 home runs as a team going into freaking the second week of August. They can't do that again next year. And Miguel Cabrera, I'm going to quote an Al Avila line that he used last time. Miguel Cabrera does not push the franchise needle, anymore. I love him. I respect him. I have a bunch of his autographs. I wish I could show you guys right now, but I don't want to ruin this video by flipping the camera on. But if he retires, it would be the best thing that ever happened to the Tigers, because then they could get another bat. They could get another first base DH, someone that could hit 20-some home runs or even 15 home runs and be a contributor to a lineup, because they need something. So, Tigers sucked this week, but they retired Lou Whitaker's number. It was an awesome ceremony. Glad to see it. Kerry Carpenter continues to rake in the minor leagues. I hope they bring him up sometime soon to give him a look. Riley Greene is already making the adjustments in the big leagues, and hopefully we see more of that throughout the month of August and September. See his numbers, power numbers come up a little bit more. And that's really about it. Their offense sucks. They scored a couple times. They had a couple games this week where they finally managed to score. They had one blowout against the Rays, and they got their ass whipped every other game. So it's basically about it. So I got for you guys today. Have a good one. Go Tigers.